Welcome to Vermontitude, a collaborative effort between Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and BCTV to bring you the stories behind the stories on the topics you want to learn more about. Because there's always more, so there'll always be Vermontitude. Hosted by me, Peter Fish Case. Welcome to Vermontitude. New episodes drop every Tuesday and can be found by going to Vermontitude.com, Reformer.com, Brattleboro.tv, and locally on Comcast Channel 1078. We come to you from our studios at the Innovation Box on Landmark Hill. I'm Peter Fish Case, and each week I cover the topics that are of concern to Windham County and the towns that reside within its borders. Joining us today from the Charter Revision Commission is Chair Kate O'Connor, Peter Elwell, and Hannah Clarisse. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Got a full house here today.
We do.
All right. Let's get into it. Kate, since you're the chair, I'm going to point this question at you. What does the Charter Revision Commission do?
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
The Charter Revision Commission is appointed actually by the Select Board at least every 15 years. And our job is to review our town charter. And the town charter is the document that guides how our town government works. And we were all appointed, there's 6 of us, and we were appointed by the Select Board at the end of 2022. So we have been working for 2023 and 2024. And what we've been doing is going through all the provisions of the charter and really looking at them. Some of it just needs to be grammatically fixed. There are provisions or sections of the charter that we've had to do a little bit more work to than others. All of our meetings are public, so we've been getting a lot of public participation. And we've been taking our cues really from the people that come in and tell us what they think about the charter. The biggest issue that we've heard about is representative town meeting. Some people like it. Some people would like to see tweaks to it. Some people would like to see a change, and we don't do representative town meeting anymore, but we do another form of public participation, which might mean an open town meeting. And that's really what we're grappling with right now. And we really actually appreciate the opportunity to come here because we want as much public input as we can.
Well, I will tell you, and I know we had a chance to talk beforehand, and this was probably presented out loud, and at least for us, to the Select Board a couple of weeks ago. And so far, I've heard a couple of vicious rumors and a few things that are kind of untrue, like getting rid of representative town meeting, going to Australian ballot on everything. The fact that there won't be a place big enough for the capacity of the people that would show up. So let's just address all that. First of all, your proposal is a possibility to take a look at representative town meeting, but not replacing town meeting, correct? I mean, you're looking to more or less kind of say, if we were to get rid of representative town meeting, we would just open it up to general town meeting.
I think it's actually a little more nuanced than that. So it's not even necessarily, should we get rid of representative town meeting? But because we've heard over the years, frankly, over like the last 5 or 10 years, a lot of complaints about representative town meeting, about some aspects of it related to the election of people to serve, and how there are often open seats. We often have situations where not as many people run as there are actually seats available.
Right.
Has been a concern, and then just how the meeting functions and how long the meeting goes, and some of the other things like that. So we've been looking at the question of, are there things we should do to improve representative town meeting, or we're the only place in the state that has a representative town meeting. Every other town.
Is that true?
That's true. So every other town either has an open town meeting or does their voting by Australian ballot. I think we're pretty united on the Charter Review Commission, although we haven't taken a final action, that we definitely want to have a town meeting of some sort.
Right.
But the question now that we're really grappling with is, should we try to improve representative town meeting, or should we switch over to an open town meeting?
Okay, interesting. I guess, how would you improve representative town meeting? And first of all, I mean, nothing happens unless you have, every district is filled with representatives. But like, what's the top suggestion you guys are getting? Hannah?
I think that there have been some suggestions to maybe have less seats so that they're competitive.
Oh, interesting.
Quite frankly, I think a lot of the issues that we're seeing with representative town meeting could be solved by switching to an open town meeting. I hear a lot, especially from younger people, that it's complicated to try and figure out how to join representative town meeting, and it feels like there's some barriers to participating in town government.
Yeah, and I know that with talking with somebody who was considering it, realizing you had to get, is it 30 signatures or is it 10 for this?
10.
10, okay. 10 felt like that was a barrier to entry, although I would just say that's not, you could probably just get that many in a household and your neighbors. But it's so that part's too bad. I mean, I've always liked representative town meeting, but I think town meetings are also really important. So I'm glad that we're not considering getting rid of that altogether.
Right. Now, I want to explain one thing too, before everybody thinks, 6 people are going to decide the fate of, our town government. Our work, once we make the recommendations, we put our recommendations on paper, it's going to go to representative town meeting.
Right.
They all have to vote. Then it has to go to the legislature, who has to approve our charter. And then it has to be signed by the governor. So there's a process along the way to make this, whatever the change is, it's just not the 6 of us. And I think some of the things we've heard about what people don't like about representative town meeting are not necessarily things the charter can fix either. Some people think it's too long, and all of that. But I think it's been helpful for us and everybody to talk about those things. When we're talking about whether we go to, stay with representative, or whether we recommend to stay with representative town meeting or go to open town meeting.
Now, is it a possibility that this idea, once it's fleshed out and formalized and you have the language that you want, is it possible for something like that to go to an Australian ballot?
You mean the final vote as opposed to going to representative town meeting for the charter changes?
That is possible. That would require the select board to actually place the question on before all the voters. And Town Attorney Bob Fisher would need to advise about that. There's 4 different ways in which the town's charter can be amended. And one is having the select board put a question on for a vote of all the voters of the town. Another, and the one that we're in the middle of right now, is what Kate described, where a charter review commission is appointed. We make recommendations, and then it goes through that process of representative town meeting and onto the state. Bob would have to provide advice about what would happen if we were on one path and then shifted over to another. I don't know exactly how that would work.
Yeah, no, it's interesting though, right? It does raise some questions. What else are you guys working on though? That's nuanced and exciting.
Lots of things the public would probably find less exciting, but we actually I know for me it's true. I think it's been true for all of us.
It's true for all of you if you're serving on your policy wonks.
Well, yeah, and for 2 years we've been looking at some really granular details, but it's exciting because as Kate described, the charter of the town is like the constitution for the country or the state. I mean, this is like the foundation on which we do all the stuff we do to govern our community. And so we've looked at a lot of really picky details about certain things about committees and different ways in which there are required processes or lists of offices, some of which are really outdated. And so we're kind of just trying to update things. And some of it, actually, we're looking at sections that look just fine and we're leaving them alone.
Yeah. Okay. But it is interesting when you think about, as you interesting point that you just said was that's like the Constitution, right, for the state of Vermont or just for our town.
Yeah.
And there's probably some 200-year-old plus language in there, I'm assuming, right? That probably needs to be looked at.
There's some old stuff.
Yeah, there is definitely.
And Hannah's the lawyer in the group.
Oh.
So Hannah always reminds us there are things that we have to have because of state statute.
Yeah.
All right. Give me an example, Hannah.
The most recent one, there was a recent change to state law. They created a municipal code of ethics. So we've incorporated that into the recommendations that we'll be making.
Okay.
Just basically saying that applies, because the interesting thing about the charter and the way that it works with state law is that we can actually override state law, either intentionally or unintentionally, by doing something different in our charter.
Oh. I find it fascinating, the whole process. So I commend you guys for the work you're doing. It is, as you said, you can get really granular on a lot of this stuff. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And one of the things, sort of to follow up with what Hannah said, we can put whatever we want in the charter as a town.
Yeah.
It can be passed by the town meeting, but it doesn't necessarily mean the legislature is going to let us do it. They have voted provisions of other towns' charters down. So we're sort of, we know what we like. Oh, they actually did it with the legislature voted to not allow us to do the 16-year-old vote the first time around. And then the governor actually vetoed it. So it's interesting that just because we as a town want it and we as a town vote for it, doesn't necessarily mean the legislature will pass it or the governor will sign it.
And that's why they get the last word, is so that if what we send up does get approved by the legislature and the governor, that's why then it has the effect of being state law, but for Brattleboro in particular. And so that's why if there's a conflict after that happens and the state has blessed it, if there's a conflict between what's in our charter and what's in the general statutes, our charter prevails because the state has approved that as part of the state law.
Interesting. And frustrating. all the things, right? So when are you guys hoping to sort of, I know that it came before the select board, and it was kind of determined that we just needed some cleaner language as to like if get rid of town meeting or replace it with this, and then there was a second part. So when can we look forward to kind of hearing the language on that second part?
We had a meeting on last week, actually, and we discussed that. And what we're thinking, we're going to make news here. What we're thinking is figuring out public input in a different way that won't be so confusing. Because we realized we were all confused. Sitting in that room.
It's a big thought.
Yeah. So we're working on making it clearer and not putting something on the ballot, because if we all can't understand what the question is, how can anyone else?
It's fair. It's a fair point.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to do is we're going to do a public meeting on February the 6th, which will give people more information about. But then we're going to really try to go out there, whether we do a survey, whether we stand at the polls, whatever we can do to get public input on that question.
Yeah.
And of course, we still have our meetings. We meet twice a month.
Okay.
Where anybody can come in and tell us anything they want. And
careful.
And it's actually based on the feedback that we heard from the select board. And just for the viewers who might not know the whole history, we the commission, had asked the select board to place on the March ballot a question about open town meeting and representative town meeting.
Correct.
And the feedback we got was, this is both like too narrowly framed and not clear enough.
Right.
And when we wrestled with that and tried to come up with language to bring back to you all, that's when we landed on the place that said basically what we've been talking about here this morning, that this question is nuanced. It's not a yes or no question, at least at this time. It's not, while we're wrestling with the different options. And so it lends itself much more to continued encouraging the public to come out and be involved in the discussions around this, as opposed to trying to pose a clear yes or no question to all the voters at this time.
Yeah, it is funny. It's very nuanced. I know at a base level what you're asking, but like I'm a little confused as to how to word it.
Yeah, come out on February 6th. Be part of the conversation then.
I'll be there. All right, guys. Anything else that we might be leaving out that we should look forward to maybe in 2025?
Well, we're hoping to get done. I can just give you our goal is to get this done by fall, because again, we want to get it up to the legislature so they can take it up in 2026, because, even though we're having fun together, 2 years
is enough.
Is enough.
Yeah.
So this is it. We're trying to really get this done.
All right. Yeah. Well, good luck with it. Yeah. Guys, thanks for jumping on Vermontitude today. Maybe we shed some more light on it and learned a few things here today. At least I did.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.